Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Spoilers, Recap, and Results. I'm your host as always, Pop Culture Junkie here. And we just wrapped up the final pay-per-view of not only this year, but of the decade from WWE. This is their last pay-per-view until 2020. So how'd they do? Did they go out on a big bang high note? Or did they just kind of coast and float around in the water like they have been on other pay-per-views throughout the last few years? Well, let's dive into the card and we'll talk about it as we go. I didn't have a whole lot of hopes or expectations for the show to begin with. Let me state that right away. I didn't think going in this was going to be the giant blow-off of all the feuds. This was going to be a transitional pay-per-view, I thought. Just it's going to carry us into the next year. The next pay-per-view, though, is the Royal Rumble, which we all know begins the road to WrestleMania. So I did expect there to be at least maybe one little tiny, itty bitty nugget of shock value, something to really make you be like, I can't miss next week's Raw, SmackDown. This is going to be amazing. Something. Did we get that? I didn't feel it. Did y'all? If you watched the pay-per-view, did you get that feeling at all? Did you get the sense of like, oh my gosh, I would have been full of regret if I had missed out on this show? Well, let me know in the comments what you thought of the show. Share your thoughts. Did you like the show? Did you like the matches? What was your favorite match? Share with me in the comments. But let's kick off. We got the Kickoff. Kickoff panel begins with Charlie Caruso, Booker T, David Otunga, and Coach. They share their thoughts, opinions on the matches that have been announced for the night. We get a moment during the Kickoff show where the Revival come out to the panel and they cut a good promo, and they basically call out Booker T. And all I can think of while this is happening is, okay, when's the next Saudi show, and are we going to see the Revival versus Harlem Heat? Because that's what it was going to. The Revival basically called out Booker T, saying, hey, why don't you come on down to our state, get out of Texas, get out of Houston, come on down to our state. Was it North Carolina they're from, something like that? And, we'll show you how it's done. It was an okay promo, but after they left, you could tell Booker T was probably saying whatever was being fed into his earpiece, but at the same time, he also kind of was like, you know what, things would have gone down, if I didn't hold back, but I held back, It's like, okay, it was bad. It was a bad way to try to recover from that. We then go to an interview with Lana and Lashley. They're backstage, and Booker T basically is trying to say that Lashley is being held down by Lana. He's like, Lashley could be in the main events and the title pictures, all this stuff, but he's being held down by Lana. He's got too much. And Booker T's basically saying Lashley's got too much punani on the brain. It's like, what? What was Lashley doing earlier this year, or even throughout the last year and a half before this storyline? He was being led to the ring by Leo Rush, and he would come out and bend over and show people his butthole. That was his go-to pose, his favorite pose, because he was doing more of a bodybuilder type gimmick, and it sucked. And he had maybe one chance at the title. He got close to a couple times, but it was just not good. It wasn't working. And we had we have like a Roman Reigns Lashley match, and oh, that was bad. But yeah. So we have a match on the Kickoff show that was not announced prior, so it's a surprise match. We have Andrade versus Humberto Carrillo. Andrade comes out with Zelina Vega. This, of course, is a rematch from Monday Night Raw. We just had this match 6 nights ago on Raw, and Humberto Carrillo got the win after some miscommunication, a mistimed distraction by Zelina that Andrade blamed her for the loss. Basically, it seems like they're going to start sort of the beginning of the end for their manager-employee relationship here, which I'm not a fan of. Andrade was going nowhere in NXT before they partnered him up with Zelina in NXT, and then he became the NXT champion. During the match, there was a really good spot where Humberto is on the outside of the ring, hanging off of the top turnbuckle in the Tree of Woe position, but he's hanging above the ring apron. Andrade gets on the top of the turnbuckle, and he jumps off to do the double stomp onto Humberto. That was really good, but then Andrade lands on the ring apron, and it looked like he hit his left temple on the top rope and cut himself because he was bleeding throughout the rest of the match. But in the end, Andrade was distracted by Zelina again. Carrillo hits a moonsault for the pin and gets the win. And afterwards, Andrade and Zelina have words in the ring, and then Andrade just walks out and leaves Zelina Vega in the ring going like, what'd I say? So then we go to the main show. We have the opening matchup of the night is, for the main show, SmackDown Tag Team Title Ladder Match. Just announced the other day that it was going to be a ladder match. Thankfully, because I'm tired of seeing New Day versus Revival in just regular matchups, so at least it was a ladder match. That was great. Only problem is, we still have the New Day in the tag team title picture. I'm so tired of the New Day. So, the match itself was good. It was entertaining. I enjoyed it. There was a lot of your normal ladder uses, flipping the ladder into people, laying the ladder across ropes and slamming people, slamming their heads, whatever. A lot of the same stuff you see in every ladder match. Nothing really different stood out. The one big moment I liked in this match was Kofi Kingston is on the top of the ladder trying to get up to where the belts are. The Revival push the ladder over, tip it over, and as it's going towards the side of the ring that's on the ramp, Kofi steps off of the ladder. He steps onto the top rope, not the turnbuckle. He's in the middle of the rope, is able to stand on that for a moment, and then springboard backwards into a tornado DDT onto one of the Revival members. That was really good. But in the end, after the Revival suplexed Big E onto a ladder, but it didn't break, Dash then had to hit a body drop to put Big E through it. They put two ladders up in the middle of the ring under the titles. Big E hits a big ending off of the ladder to Dash Wilder. Scott Dawson is on top of the ladder, and he had the belts right in front of him. He easily could have grabbed these belts at any moment, and it seemed like Kofi was just off on his timing. He was hanging upside down from one of the ladders. But he gets back up, and he gets up to the top. He swings the belts into Scott Dawson's face, knocking him off the ladder, and then Kofi grabs the belts, and New Day is still your tag team champions. I don't know why. It's just, okay, they've won the belts this many times, they held it for this long. It doesn't mean anything. I'm just tired of the whole pancake gimmick and everything, so I don't know. But they won, and they're still the champs. Next up, Buddy Murphy versus Aleister Black. This was a really good back-and-forth match. Aleister went for a kick on the ring apron when Murphy was standing on the floor, but Murphy flipped Black's leg backwards, causing Black to fall forward into the turnbuckle post, and he started bleeding from his nose during the rest of the match. But in the end, Murphy hits a brainbuster DDT, a close 2 count, but after a series of strike exchanges, Black hits the Black Mass out of nowhere, gets the win. Again, very good match. We then get a video package recap of Seth Rollins joining forces with AOP, and they cover the attack that they had on Kevin Owens from this past week on Raw. We go to ringside, and they show a group of 4 audience members. Obviously, these are like indie wrestlers. The 2 men looked like indie wrestlers. And they're being rewarded with a KFC feast, where they're sitting at ringside at a regular folding table with a KFC banner tablecloth, and they've got KFC food on the table. So we have our open challenge match, which is the Viking Raiders, the Raw Tag Team Champions, issued a open challenge to any tag team. And it was weird because they showed this, or they had this happen right after they did the video recap with AOP and Rollins. So I thought maybe AOP is going to come out and win the tag belts, and that way this new stable they're trying to put together with Rollins and AOP, they have some gold already, but no. Instead, we get the best tag team in the world because they won that World Cup in Saudi, Gallows and Anderson. So this match was nothing but a Monday Night Raw match, nothing special. In the end, both teams were counted out, and on the outside of the ring, Gallows and Anderson approached the KFC table. They pull it over to the ramp area, but the Raiders end up reversing everything, and they powerbomb Carl Anderson through the table. That's all she said. All right. We then go backstage to Kayla Braxton. She interviews The Miz, talking about his upcoming matchup against Bray Wyatt and how everything has become personal with the very spooky, creepy thing they did with the dolls in his daughter's crib at Miz's house during SmackDown. I really liked that. I thought that was really great. I think had this been like more about just The Miz and Bray Wyatt, not Daniel Bryan related at all, and if Miz was the champ, this probably would have been a better way to go. Have Miz be the champ for a little bit, lead up to Bray Wyatt doing all the creepy stuff with The Fiend and the Mr. Rogers stuff and everything, but yeah. So after that interview, I thought we were going to go to the Universal title or the Fiend versus Miz match, but instead we go to TLC match Corbin versus Roman Reigns. That shocked me. I thought this was going to close out the show. I thought this was going to be the main event, but it wasn't. It was not the main event of the show, and we'll get to what the actual main event was in a minute. Roman comes out after Corbin's entrance, and Roman beats up a couple of the security guys. He puts one of them through a table on the entrance ramp. During the match, Roman is about to go for, looks like either the spear or drive-by on Corbin outside the ring near the timekeeper area. But just as Roman is approaching there or running towards him, Ziggler shows up, gives him a super kick to the face. Reigns begins fighting back against both Ziggler, Corbin, all the security guys. He has a kendo stick in his hand to do so. The security guys, they all ran towards Roman, arms up, like ready, like, I'm here, hit me in the chest. It was really bad. Bad timing on all of that. Following this, the Revival come out. And he fights off everyone again. Roman fights off everyone. Revival, Ziggler, Corbin, security guys, everything. They brought all these people out. And now they're all at the outside the ring by the ramp. Just so Roman Reigns can do a running suicide dive and land on all of them. But in the end, Ziggler throws a chair into Roman's face in the ring. Revival hits the Shatter Machine. And then Corbin hits the End of Days and gets the pin and the win. And the crowd was dead for this, okay? Except for the few spot fest moments with chairs and kendo sticks, the crowd was dead. I'll say this, though, also. The crowd seemed kind of dead throughout the night. So I just don't know if any matches ever got a spark in the crowd or if the crowd just was not feeling it tonight. I don't know. Or, again, they were just like, well, we bought these tickets like 6 months ago, but we didn't know this was going to be the card they were going to give us, so we can't get our money back. We're going to go ahead and have a show. It's just, who knows? A lot of reasons. But it just really didn't seem like the crowd was hyped about a lot of things tonight. We then have Bray Wyatt versus The Miz. Next matchup. First Miz comes out first. And then we hear the Firefly Funhouse music playing. And out walks Bray wearing his Mr. Rogers sweater, just like he looks when he's in the Firefly Funhouse skits. And he's wearing the blue Universal title belt. The bell rings and Bray starts to approach Miz to tell him, like, hey, calm down real quick or let's talk it out. But Miz just comes in attacking. He attacks Bray continuously, and there's almost no offense on Bray's part at all. Very little. Finally, throughout the match, he finally does, like, a moment where he grabs Miz by the throat, kind of gets serious for a moment, like almost like the Fiend is trying to come out of him. And you hear the fans, they did finally get into something where you would start hearing them chant, let him in, let him in. It's like, wait a minute, they're cheering for this guy who broke into the Miz's house, put creepy dolls in their children's bed. I mean, it's really creepy, but the fans are behind him more than the Miz. Now, also during the match, the Miz kind of went a little Pete Dunne here, where Bray is on his stomach on the ring mat. Miz torques Bray's arm and then bends backwards his entire hand and fingers, kind of like Pete Dunne does during his matches. And the whole time, Bray just has a creepy smile, almost like he's enjoying the pain, and nothing can hurt him. They then battle outside the ring near the timekeeper area, and Bray clotheslines Miz over the timekeeper barrier. He pulls him back on top of the barrier, almost like a hanging DDT setup, like the middle rope setup kind of thing. But Miz's feet are hanging off of the timekeeper's barrier, and Bray hits a Sister Abigail onto the arena floor. Bray gets in the ring. The ref begins a 10 count, but just at the 9 count, Miz runs in to beat the count, only to get Sister Abigail right away, and then Bray gets the pin and the win. Afterwards, Bray looks up at the Titantron, and he sees the Fiend staring down at him. Wyatt looks to him and says, okay, I'll do it. Wyatt then goes outside the ring. He pulls out a Harley Quinn-style giant mallet. Then we get the Fiend light shutdown beginning. We hear the noise effects and a little bit of the lights go down. They don't go completely dark yet, though. They just kind of go shutdown mode slowly. Wyatt then begins getting very excited and says, he's here! He's here! Wyatt then turns around and somebody in a hoodie comes running at him with a running knee. The person stands up, pulls off the hoodie, and we see it is Daniel Bryan, no beard, and a buzz cut now. He looks just like 2012 Daniel Bryan almost. Daniel Bryan then runs at him again with another running knee. He then grabs Bray's arms and does the multiple foot stomps to the face. Bryan then gets the mallet and is about to hit Bray with it, but the lights shut off just when he's about to hit him. When they come back on, Bray has disappeared. Bryan then just drops the mallet and begins doing the yes chants and celebrates with the audience, and that's all we get. So we're going to have to wait till Friday to find out what Bryan has been up to, what happened to his hair exactly, why has he waited so long to come back over the last week and a half. We'll see. We then go to another video package that we got to see earlier in the evening already, and it's WWE is doing a TLC parody of TMZ, and they were calling it what was it? So tables, ladders, and chairs, of course, and they were doing Lana was the L, Carnage was the C. I don't remember what the T was stand for. But yeah, they were doing like a TMZ, the way TMZ does their news reports. They were doing that on the whole storyline with Rusev and Lana and Lashley. So we get Lana and Lashley out first, then out comes Rusev. This was a very long, drawn-out match. If it only lasted 5 minutes, I would be surprised, because it felt like 30. It just went on and on and on. It was a table match only because during the divorce segment on Raw, Rusev put Lashley through a table, which meant it's probably going to be Bobby getting the win here so he can put Rusev through a table. But I was like, why? Just wrap it up. Rusev is the one that's been cheated on, lied to, all this stuff. He should be the one to come out on top. Well, let's go to the match. So, after a whole bunch of back and forth attempts of putting people through through tables, we get Lashley setting up a table in the one corner of the ring, and the legs on the bottom part of the table were fully set up, so the table was like an extra 2 feet high than it should have been, slanted in the corner. And Lashley tries to ram Rusev into the table, but it doesn't break, obviously, because it's not set up right. But there's a table in the opposing corner set up properly from earlier in the match, and Rusev just gets belly-to-belly suplex through by Lashley, and Lashley wins, and Lana and Lashley celebrate. And that's it. We get nothing else as far as, are they finished with the storyline? Are we done? Are we going to hear more of this? Nothing else. Nothing else gets done. Backstage, we see the Street Profits, and they begin to do one of their backstage hype promos to talk about everything that's happened on the card. But just as they're about to get into their promo, camera turns to the left, and we see a giant brawl has been happening between Corbin, Roman Reigns, Ali, Shorty G, New Day, Ziggler. They're all just beating the crap out of each other. And then we just cut back to the arena. We don't get any explanation on what's been going on, how long has this been happening. So we go to our main event. By the way, it was like 8:45 when this happened. So at 8:45 we get announced main event, final match of the night, women's tag team title match, TLC match. It's Kabuki Warriors, Kairi Sane and Asuka defending the titles against Becky Lynch, the Raw Women's Champion, and Charlotte Flair. This match was okay, and that's being generous. It was okay because I like all four of the people that are involved in this match, but man, it's like, do you not know how a ladder match or a TLC match works? You don't have to put on 20-30 spot fest and then be like, oh, by the way, there's belts up there. Let's go for those belts. Like, it felt like 99% of the time they forgot that they're supposed to go get in the ring and climb up a ladder to get title belts. For the most part, it was two people lay down on the ground. So let's say Asuka's on the ground, Charlotte's on the ground. Becky and Kairi would begin fighting. Kairi would knock out Becky. So Becky has no chance. Charlotte has no chance. Kairi Sane is good to go. Instead of climbing up to the top of a ladder that's already set up in the ring. There was a ladder set up in the ring for so long. Instead, Kairi would be like, let me go into the ring and find some more toys. Let me get some more weapons. Let me get a ladder. Let me get a kendo stick. Let me get a rope. It was so bad. Like, why are y'all focused on these spots? And they would set up spots and take forever. There was one moment where Asuka and Charlotte are fighting over the top of a turnbuckle, and there's a ladder set up outside the ring on the floor, and Charlotte was about to do a moonsault, but Asuka gets up on the apron, and she's trying to do a powerbomb to Charlotte through the table, I sound like Jerry Lawler. Jerry Lawler kept on all throughout the match confusing ladders and tables. He'd be like, "Oh, he just put her through a table. Oh, I mean, she put her through a ladder. Or one of those things." But as Asuka's about to do the powerbomb, like literally, Charlotte pauses, looks backwards to make sure she can see where the table is, and then it's like, "Okay, go," and then flat backs it. But we saw that a lot throughout the night with some of these spots where I get it. You don't want to be injured. You don't want to be careless, but there's ways to do this where it's not so obvious. Where you're like, hold on, okay, move to the side. Okay, and there we go. It's like it was so bad, such bad timing. But in the end, the ending was okay, a little anticlimactic. Okay, I had a thought like, okay, they saved this for the match of the final match of the night. Something's gonna happen. Somebody's gonna show up. We're gonna get a title change. We're gonna have something happen, and nothing happened. During the match, there was a moment where they laid a ladder on the floor between the announce table and the ring. They laid Becky Lynch or slammed Becky Lynch on there, and then they brought out a giant thick rope and tied her up to the ladder, like almost like she's being tied up to a railroad tracks in an old movie. So once Becky Lynch is tied up to the ladder, and then there was another part a little bit later where they took out Charlotte. It's like they're both out. Go get your belts. And no, they'd still go grab more chairs or stuff and do other things. So the funny thing was they tied the rope to one part of the ladder and then wrapped the rest of the rope around Becky and whatnot. Later on, that's the ladder that gets put into the ring at the last part of the match and set up, and the rope is kind of just forgotten about, right? Well, Becky gets up onto the ladder and she's about to grab the belts, and then I believe it was Asuka. I don't know if it was Asuka and Kairi, but they just pull the rope, which tips the ladder and causes Becky to fall off. And then Asuka gets onto the ladder, she climbs up, and she retrieves both titles. So Asuka and Kairi won the main event. They're still the tag team champions, which I'm happy about. Did not want to see them drop the belts just for a stupid, quick little mini storyline where Becky and Charlotte win the belts, and then they have a little bit of oh, I'm better, oh, I'm going to go to Mania, oh, I want to win the Rumble, blah, 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 and then they just drop the belts a few weeks later to somebody else. That would have been terrible. So I'm happy the Kabuki Warriors still tag team champions, but it was very uneventful. The match just dragged, and it just seemed like they did not know what else to do at times other than let's find more weapons under the ring and pile stuff onto the floor. And for a lot of times, they just fought outside the ring, never actually getting into the ring to try and pull each other off the ladder that much to get to the belts. So again, they just completely forgot about they were challenging for title belts. So this is around 9 o'clock, I think, because it was about 8:45. The match was about 15 minutes maybe, so it was about 9. I'll say 9:05. I think it was around 9:05 that match ended. I'm looking at the time going like, well, what's left? Usually these matches or pay-per-views, they last till 10 o'clock, my time, of course, Central Time, or maybe 9:45, 9:30 at the earliest. But we're just barely after the 9 o'clock hour here, and this is your typical 5-hour pay-per-view. It started at 5 o'clock, should be ending at 10 o'clock. Well then, as soon as the Kabuki Warriors are announced as the winners, cameras cut to the audience area, and we see all the men coming out from the back area, not the staging area. They're over like in the other side of the arena, but they come out and they just continue brawling and just have a giant brawl. Of course, Corbin and Roman get up on top of the next level up. They fight for a little bit, and then they wait for everyone to be underneath them, and then Roman spears Corbin off of the platform, and they both land on all the superstars. And as soon as that happens, bam, we fade to black, show's over. So we're obviously not done with this Corbin-Roman stuff. I mean, do they not realize how bad this is, how terrible this storyline is? The ratings, if you follow ratings at all, which I don't really care about that a whole lot, but I know there's a lot of people that do, and that's fine. And I know the people that work for these companies care about the ratings. If they've checked the ratings, they drop every time Roman and Corbin are involved. It's just every week the show opens with Corbin and Roman, and you get terrible ratings. Or it closes with them, you get terrible ratings. Maybe you should stop putting Corbin and Roman in stuff on the beginning and end of shows. Maybe you need to split them up, put them in different feuds, and do other things, because it's not working. Okay, so that's how TLC ends. That is our final WWE pay-per-view of the year and of the decade. One of the worst, in my opinion. One of, not the, there's been others more terrible, definitely more terrible. But this is the last one of the year, leading us into 2020, and our next pay-per-view is in about 6 weeks, Royal Rumble. Based on this show, who's going to win the Rumble for the men's and women's? I can't tell you. I can tell you who I think they're obviously going to shove down our throat, but who's going to really win? I don't know. Because there was nobody that came out of any match tonight, the major star of the night. It just wasn't. There was no one that had a show-stealing moment, had the momentum going from here to the Rumble to win it. So who knows what they're going to do. Let me know, please, in the comments what you thought of the show. Maybe I'm being too hard. Maybe I'm being on point. Share with me. Let me know. But I'm hoping they turn things around. I'm hoping they get their mindset ready, because they're like, you know what? It's time for WrestleMania. They always have a drop between WrestleMania and Survivor Series. That's usually the low point. They just like, okay, no worries. We'll just, we'll bring it back around when it comes time for the Rumble, because that's their big moneymaker, Rumble through Mania. So that's when they put in the more effort, it seems, sometimes. But I'm sitting here with fingers crossed, because I will be attending the Royal Rumble, and I've only attended one Royal Rumble before, and that was in 2017, and the ending was a disaster. The crowd was highly upset for multiple reasons. If you attended that show or you saw that show, you know why. And I remember just walking out into the, outside area of the outside of the arena, and everyone was just like, "What the hell was that?" Number 30 was Roman. They had Orton win. It was just, everyone was not happy. It was just like, what? This sucks. And I'm hoping I don't have that experience again going to the Rumble in 2020. Okay, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the pay-per-view. If you did happen to tune in, hope you will leave me your comments and thoughts. Share with me what you thought of the show. And, hey, let's wrap it up for the new year, and let's get ready for a fresh start, fresh decade of WWE programming in 2020. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching and listening. I'll talk to you later. This is PCJ, Pop Culture Junkie, signing out.